You're listening to the Average Sports Guys podcast with Eddie and Marcus.
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
Yo.
This is Eddie and Marcus here, Average Sports Guys podcast.
Absolutely.
So we're here. This is episode 18.
The SEO show.
Yeah.
Let's go.
All right, so week 2 just wrapped up in the NFL.
Week 2.
A bunch of craziness went down, I would say, because of the injuries, just around the league.
It's and like we've talked about, it's like they're hitting a lot harder this season.
Oh yeah, we were texting that last night.
I think it was texting last night. Like I think it was like a learning curve with, head up, using your shoulder and all that. But once they figured that out, they were laying some wood.
Yeah.
Big deal.
No, there was definitely some harder hits. Like I said, we were texting about that yesterday. So that was one thing I noticed, even in some of the Sunday games. There was a few decent hits in the Redskins game.
Mm-hmm.
But I just wanted to touch on injuries real quick. So Ben Roethlisberger, elbow injury. He had surgery. He's out for the year.
Done.
I was talking to somebody at work. I think it was work.
Mm-hmm.
Was it? I can't remember. And I was saying basically, is this the end for him? Like, is he going to just, retire?
Right.
Because he flirted with that, what was it, last season or the season before?
Yeah, because he was like, I don't know if I want to come back, injuries, that whole thing. I don't know if I want to play anymore.
Right. Because he's gotten beat up his whole career.
His whole career he's been getting blown up. I think he's got a bad knee, too.
Oh, I'm sure he's got bad everything.
Got bad everything at this point. So I honestly think that he might be. I mean, that's not a far-fetched thing to think, is that he might be ready to hang it up.
Yeah. So, that'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Right.
Right now, obviously, his main focus just had surgery, so you recover, rehab, and then he'll probably see where he's at as far as that's concerned.
Right. And then, and even with Andrew Luck, he might be thinking the same thing. Like, I got a family. Like, I got to think about life after football at this point. I got rings, which is better than Andrew Luck at this point. So, when do I hang it up?
Yeah, man. And then Drew Brees had the thumb issue
in
the game against the Rams. That was ugly.
It was really ugly. In slow motion, the way that his finger was contorted and all that, I was like, dude, that's 100% horrible luck. I wouldn't wish that on anybody.
Right. So he had surgery, so he'll be out. I guess it's like 6-ish weeks. So we'll see how that goes. But that can drastically alter their season.
Mm-hmm.
I would venture to say I think Bridgewater can be, no pun intended, a good bridge quarterback until Brees can get back. So if Sean Payton, as smart as he is, and he can scheme up that offense, I think they'll be okay.
Because if you go back and think about his time with Minnesota, he wasn't a bad quarterback. He was lighting stuff up. And what did he have in Minnesota? He had a good number one receiver, and then he also had a run game. What does he have with the Saints? He has a good number one receiver, a good number two receiver, and 2 legit running backs, and
a serviceable tight end.
So exactly, a serviceable tight end. So in my opinion, it's a little bit of a better situation as far as weapons.
Right.
So I think he'll be fine. I just think it was just too quick of a transition. Like, he was on the bench. It's Drew Brees. You're not really going to play unless he gets injured. And then with those first team reps this week, I think it'll be a better product for the game this week.
Right. So. And then not only that, but the coaches are going to game plan to his strengths as well.
Absolutely.
So I think we'll see a much better performance out of him. Again, he knows for the foreseeable future, he's got to prepare, and everybody can say whatever they want about, you always got to prepare like you're going to be the number one. But like you said, realistically,
if you don't get the reps and you don't get the throws in with the ones, you're coming in cold. It's going to look different.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then Cam Newton still has that lingering issue with his foot or ankle, something like that. So last I heard earlier today, he was still a little questionable.
I bet he was.
For week 3.
Just like his wardrobe, right?
Right. Oh, man. The memes out on that guy.
Oh, it's looking like somebody's, auntie that shows up late to the cookout every time.
Somebody, I don't know. I may have just seen it on Facebook. Somebody made, it was, what is her name? She's recently Bobby Brown's old.
Whitney Houston. It looks like
yeah.
Whitney Houston and Jemima. You can run down the list. He looks like all of them.
And they put those side by sides. I was dying.
Oh yeah, you gonna get that.
Yeah, anyway.
Yeah.
Other injuries. So obviously Darius Geis is out for what they say 4 to 6 weeks. But in my experience, just following the team it seems like the Redskins, I mean, I really don't know exactly what it is, if it is the medical staff or the training staff, but they do seem to have more players injured more often and then longer. Like Colt McCoy should have been ready to go and on the active roster.
Absolutely.
Because they kept saying, well, he's close. This was during OTAs, then into training camp, and then he was okay in training camp, and then something happened. It's like these players are constantly injured, and then I feel like they get rushed back, and then they never completely healed, or because they're compensating for this, they screw up something else. So
absolutely.
Because we have Adrian Peterson, we do have Smallwood, and then we do have Chris Thompson.
I was about to say that, yeah.
You know what I mean? So is there really a rush to bring him back if you feel like he's your running back of the future? If they're thinking it's him and Bryce Love, like you're make sure he's all the way healthy.
Make sure he's all the way healthy because, in my opinion, even now, your backfield is in the upper half of the league. I don't care what anybody says.
It's just our offensive line is in the lower half of the league, so they just can't run block.
You can't run block. So is it really worth risking that injury or making it worse or ending a career?
Right.
Absolutely not.
No, not to me. And so after the Redskins game, there was a lot of chatter on Twitter, which I think going forward after a game, whether we win or lose, I'm just going to leave Twitter alone and not even check it out. Because, I mean, it's people jumping off the Eiffel Tower.
Bruh.
And everybody, I saw so many people were saying, put Haskins in, da-da-da. And my response was, Case Keenum isn't the reason you're losing.
He's not the reason you're losing.
He's playing well. No interceptions, no turnovers.
He gets 2 seconds maybe in the pocket.
Right.
And he's still making plays.
Yeah, and he's making plays. If you find a bright spot and not as bright as these lights, but a bright spot, it is the offense, and it is Case Keenum, and it is Terry McLaurin. But I was like, man, pump the brakes. Like, you don't have to put him in. And then today, I didn't even get on Twitter once I heard Daniel Jones is going to replace Eli.
Bruh.
Because people were calling in the radio station, and they were just saying, man, see, they're putting in Daniel Jones. It's time to put in Haskins. Relax. Keenum, to me, until Keenum is the reason we are losing consistently, like Kirk Cousins throwing late game interceptions,
right? That
type of thing, you leave him in there.
Right.
What is the rush?
Right. Absolutely. And then, getting into the Eagles injuries, we had a bunch of guys going down within like the first 5 minutes of the game and were not even start. Deshaun Jackson only had 11 snaps. He has a groin injury. He's supposed to be out for 2 weeks. Alshon Jeffrey has a calf injury along with Dallas Goedert. Dallas, from what I understand, I mean, the media cycle changes every hour at this point. From what I understand, he could be week to week. Deshaun Jackson 2 weeks, and Alshon Jeffrey is 2 weeks. Also, with that kick return in the second half of the Falcons game, which we will get deeper into when we actually talk about our individual games. Corey Clement definitely had that fumble, but he had a shoulder injury, so he should be out for about 2 weeks. Timmy Jernigan, broken foot. I don't know what it is with my Eagles this year and broken feet, but he's out for 4 to 6. So literally we have a not completely healthy Fletcher Cox because you can tell he doesn't have the same intensity right now.
Right.
Hassan Ridgeway and then some guy. So at tackle. So we are kind of thin at tackle at this point. We can't afford any more injuries. But I'm still optimistic, and that's pretty much it for our injury report. But the big thing is Carson Wentz is fine.
Right.
He's fine. Regardless of that whole situation on the sideline and what people thought it was, he's fine. Relax.
Right. Yeah. And then just kind of some news around the league. So obviously Antonio Brown is dealing with the rape allegations or the sexual assault.
A second person came out.
Yeah, for sexual harassment. I mean, I don't know what's going on. You know what I mean? Like the way I see it is, I don't know how to say it without coming off as being like, against the women, because I'm all for them. But as far as him playing, because people are saying he should be suspended, he should be this, he should be that. But I'm like, you got to let it play out.
And wait until the facts come out. If the facts are legitimate, then by all means throw the book at the guy.
And you get his ass up out of there.
Get him out of there.
Yeah, because, I mean, there's no place in society. Not just I hear a lot of people say, "Oh, there's no place in the league and this and that," because people look up to you. No, there's no place in society for that period.
Not at all. Not even a little bit.
I will say, I've heard people have issues with the way that the Patriots handled it. I think they handled it well. Okay, we're gonna let the league handle it, and then just move on and not let it become the media circus that it could have potentially become.
And then on the flip side, Roger Goodell is also letting the process play out because he's been burned several times for mishandling suspensions when there was nothing really there, like with the whole Zeke Elliott situation and
even Reuben Foster.
There you go.
So they didn't. I don't believe they suspended Reuben either. They let that play out. The lady recanted her story. Dismissed of everything, and he was able to play. Got hurt, but. That's neither here nor there. But yeah, just in general, I mean,
the court of public opinion is vicious, and I think that we're so quick to judge. And I definitely think that they should let the flags play out because it's just one of those things where it's like you don't want to ruin a guy's career or reputation without hard facts. That's just what it is.
Yeah, no, for sure. So like I said, I mean, yeah, if he's guilty, even though it's a civil suit, not criminal.
Not criminal because probably the statute of limitations ran out.
Well, either that or they feel like I did hear somebody say they feel like there's a stronger chance or percentage of him being convicted in a civil suit versus the criminal.
Right, because the burden of proof is a lot less. It's more likely than not with a civil case, but it's without a reasonable doubt when it's a criminal one.
Right. So and reports are she's asking for a couple $1 million. I think originally it was about 10, and then now it's down to like 3.
She dialed that back.
Yeah, so I don't know. Again,
we don't know.
That's what I always say. Like, we don't know. We don't know the facts. We're not in the courtroom.
Nope.
We're not. No one here is his legal representation.
Nope.
So you just let it play out. So I was okay with what the Patriots did. Antonio Brown, he had a few catches in the score.
He had a touchdown. Yeah, you're right.
So, of course, everybody was clowning him because he was a headache in Pittsburgh, went to Oakland.
Headache.
And then they were saying, isn't it funny how magically his feet are fine, his helmet fits right, and all that stuff.
Yep.
I think he, as well as everybody else, knows when you step into that facility in Foxborough, they're not taking your crap. So
you'll be on the plane tomorrow to your house.
Get with it or get out. So I think he'll be okay. I do still think for some strange reason he will not finish the season with the team, and that's not me hating or whatever anybody's gonna say.
It's his trend right now.
Right.
Like, look at this dude.
So until proven otherwise, it's like everybody says about the Redskins, and I'll say it too. Until proven otherwise, they are just not a good football team. So so I do think he'll be off the team before the end of the year.
Right. But he better play it smart because he might stick around long enough just to get that ring, or they have to give him a ring or mail it to him before he quits. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah. So I hope next week's show and then going forward, Antonio Brown isn't making headlines.
Yeah, I'm tired of talking about
for those reasons. I mean, like,
come on, dude.
Yeah, I don't know.
I can tell you who's happy right now, just within the past decade of just not being in the media cycle that much. Well, 2 guys, Vontaze Burfict and Richie Incognito, because they were big staples of the media circus for
always in trouble
for a while. So,
and guess who's on the Raiders? Both of those
guys. And what are you hearing?
Like,
nothing.
It's a dumpster fire over there when Vontaze Burfict was the one breaking up the situation between AB and Mike Mayock.
Oh yeah, he was like, all right.
I was like, wait a minute,
all right, guys.
Yeah. So yeah. So anyway, yeah, I don't have any other news from around the league.
No, that's pretty much what's going on, unless something is breaking while we're recording this podcast.
Right.
So,
in which we will bring it to you.
Absolutely.
All right. So, week 2 scores. We can just go over those real quick.
Woo.
We could talk about if you had a best game or a worst game. I'll give you mine.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'll just go down the list and read the scores, and we can come back. So, Ravens over the Cardinals, 23-17.
Mm-hmm.
Saints over the Rams, 27-9. Excuse me, the other way around. Rams over the Saints, 27-9.
Right.
Falcons over Eagles, 24-20.
Yep.
Chiefs over Raiders, 28-10. Bears snuck out a win.
Yes, they
16-14 over the Broncos.
Bro, that was a problem. Like, Broncos should have had that one.
Yeah. Browns beat the Jets. That was last night, 23-3.
Right.
Patriots over the Dolphins, 43-0.
Yeah.
Seahawks over Steelers, 28-26.
There you go. Close game.
Packers over Vikings, 21-16.
Mm-hmm.
Cousins let that one slip away.
Yes, he did.
Cowboys over the Redskins, 31-21.
Mm-hmm.
Bills, surprisingly, 2-0, 24-14 over the Giants.
Yeah, man, let's go, Josh Allen. We need some power bombs through them tables in the parking lots. We know how y'all get down out there in Buffalo. Let's go.
Yeah, and I got Texans over the Jags. That was a squeaker, 13-12.
Woo!
Niners 2-0, 41-17 over the Bengals.
I'm gonna start calling that man big time Timmy Jim. Let's go.
Colts over Titans. I did pick the Colts to win that game,
yeah.
19-17.
Jacoby Brissett doesn't look as bad as people expected him to look.
No.
I think he actually has that offense down now. So I think he's gonna win some games.
Yeah, and I mean I think that'll be a good team to kind of watch and or follow throughout the season just to see how well he does, because I think that team is pretty well put together.
It is pretty well put together, but also you cannot write a team like that off with their defense, their receivers, and the personnel that they have around.
Right.
Jacoby. So.
And Lions. No. Chargers beat the Lions, didn't they?
Yeah.
13-10. And then Bucks over the Panthers.
Yep.
20-14.
Yeah.
I would say the best game. Well, we can get into the worst game. I thought last night's game was boring as hell.
It was very boring. Like I honestly, I didn't watch the whole thing. I just remember, like, literally, it would be Baker Mayfield either throwing a duck or a bomb to Odell or something. And either Odell scoring or, they go 3 and out, or they have a short drive, and then the Jets get it, and then they try to run it with Le'Veon Bell because the quarterback, whatever his name was, like Falk or whatever that guy.
Ended up being him. First it was Trevor Siemian.
It was Trevor Siemian, and then he got injured, and then they went to the third guy. And
it was Falk.
It was Falk, whatever that guy's name is. And he obviously, he had a couple of good balls, but
I would say he dropped a few bombs in there, but that was it.
That was it. He was mainly handing it off to Le'Veon Bell, and
it was going nowhere.
He was going nowhere, and then that guy was even getting killed by Myles Garrett. Like, that dude was teeing off. The Jets have no offensive line. I don't care what anybody says, but overall, that game was just super boring.
So, and it's going to sound weird that I say this. So, to me, it was the most boring game for me that I watched for week 2, but there were some hard hits, and there was
people were like getting leveled.
I mean, 8 up.
Leveled. Like, I felt bad. I'm like, that dude might have a family. Like calm down. Like, dial that back. Like, this dude got calls to make after the game. Like, relax.
So I mean, like, the way I see it. So you guys had the prime time on Sunday night, right?
Yes, we did.
So between that one and the Monday night game, I swear, like, if they didn't get rid of like hits of the week on ESPN, between both your game and the game last night, they could fill that whole segment with
just the hits from those 2 games.
I mean,
100%.
People were getting lit up.
Carson Wentz, that dude, my heart like sunk when that man went and tried to jump past it. I think it was the Nelson Aguilar or somebody. And dude, you just see shoulder pad up into his rib cage, and this dude was bad with the passes probably for the next quarter and a half. And then on our defensive side, Sidney Jones was playing like he hasn't been injured for like 2 years. This dude was playing like a dude senior in high school trying to get his college scholarship, laying the wood. So, there was definitely big hits this week, especially between those 2 games.
Oh, yeah. And, I mean, surprised to say, like, I really don't have, like, a favorite game of the week. I mean, so I'll default and go with my team.
Okay.
Because, I mean, I always like watching the Redskins play.
Right.
I don't – by the time the clock ticks 0, no. But that was – yeah, I'll just default and leave it to that, just the fact that they're my team. But I will say overall, though, like, it was – again, I mean, I can't watch all the games.
Right.
But I will say largely just kind of blah.
Yeah, it was. My game, just because I'm down here and it was before my game came on at 8:20. My game that I really enjoyed watching was the Ravens-Cardinals game, just because it's, Lamar Jackson proving haters wrong. He did throw for 272 passing yards that game. Hollywood Hollywood Brown is a problem.
Yeah.
That dude, he even said it in an interview. They asked him, well, you didn't run at the combine. Like, how fast can you go? He says, I run as fast as I have to, which lets you know guys like that have a whole nother
different gear. Oh, yeah.
Like, if you think you're catching him and you think you're a fast corner, you're not catching that guy. Mm-hmm. Like, he's one of those guys. Great ball tracking skills. He's going to be in the league as long as they keep him out of the middle for a long time. And he's going to be a huge weapon out there in Baltimore. But, that was my game because Lamar was carving him up a little bit. But even towards the end of the game, the Cardinals started to squeak back because, I think they're just very well conditioned from wanting that type of spread offense where they're running all the time.
Oh, yeah.
So they weren't as tired in the second half, and they squeaked back within a few points. But that was a pretty exciting game to watch, just seeing Lamar throw. And then Larry Fitzgerald is always going to get a couple of catches, things of that nature.
Oh, yeah.
It was a really good game to watch. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and I mean, I caught a couple series here and there in between the Redskins game, but I mean, they're always on when we're on, it seems like. So.
Oh, yeah, that's usually the trend out here.
So we play Monday night against Chicago at home for us.
Right.
So I'll get a chance Sunday to really sit back and watch a lot of the other games, which is kind of cool. So I'm really interested in that. But yeah, I think based on some of these injuries, man, like Panthers, I don't know what they're doing.
Dude.
They could get to a situation where they clean house, and I'm talking about personnel and coaches.
Yeah, that's a problem, and it sucks because I legitimately think that they have a good defense. I just think that their offense, I don't know what the hell is going on that side of the ball, but it sucks. It's just terrible.
Yeah, and I think, especially depending on how their record is at the end of the year, they may be looking for quarterback.
They might have to at this point because Cam Newton has, a sub 50% completion percentage or something like that, or somewhere around 50, which in reality you want your quarterback like as close to 70 or higher as possible.
And what's crazy is he went from just a few years ago as a potential MVP,
taking his team to the Super Bowl
and to this. And
I don't know, dude.
I get it. I mean, there's always going to be Cam Newton apologists. There's going to be Carolina Panthers apologists that are going to say, he just recently had the shoulder surgery. He's still maybe not fully recovered from that, or dealing with the residuals, or, it's the new foot injury and that's lingering and this and that. And those very well may be key factors. But at some point, and this is what I say about Washington, at some point, something has to change, be it the way the team is playing with the personnel they have or the actual personnel.
Right. Because it's one of those things where, I mean, you can sit there and pass the buck or pass the blame as much as you want, but at the end of the day, you're still not winning games. So whoever's in that offensive, scheming meeting, they need to come up with a better strategy. Probably lean on Christian McCaffrey a little bit more because that dude is a stud.
Mm-hmm.
Find ways to, I guess, run the ball more. And one of our biggest issues in our game, which we're going to get into a little bit, is that, run that 12 or ace package where you have 2 tight end sets or something. I don't know. I just think that they need to go ahead and try whatever they're doing, scrap it, try to find out what works well, look through the tape, and try to build off of that. And I think they might have to start running their offense through a guy like Christian McCaffrey because he just does everything.
Well, yeah. No, for sure. And, I think the Steelers are cooked.
Oh, dude.
I think their season is
over.
Is in the toilet. It's done.
Hey, man. But I'll tell you this. If you're looking for a cheap date and you're in the Pittsburgh area, you might want to go to a Steelers game.
Right. Yeah. I mean, well, I'll say this. I still think their stadium will be full all year long because they're diehard faithful. I mean, there's not really much else to do in Western PA.
Probably not.
No. I mean, like.
You've been out there.
Yeah.
I have not.
Yeah, it's not a whole lot to do. I mean, people trash Pittsburgh, but I thought it was like a decent city.
Right.
But set that aside. People will be at the game cussing and fussing, throwing stuff. I will say it probably won't be a great environment for opposing fans once all that frustration sets in, because you got to think, you're used to a franchise basically winning or being in contention to win every single year.
Absolutely.
To what I believe they're about to put on the field for the rest of the season. They're going to call for Tomlin's head. Yeah. They're going to call for so many, all that stuff. So that looks to be a train wreck.
Yeah. And here's the crazy part. It's only week 2, and there's just so many injuries and so many people. I think a lot of it's overreaction, but that situation long term, it doesn't look too good.
Yeah. So that'll be interesting to see. And then, like I said, I do think Teddy Bridgewater is set up to do well for the time that he's in.
Yeah.
And I think by the time he turns the keys back over to Drew Brees, I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, I think the goal with him is just to make it or just maintain a 500 record, and then just when Drew Brees is healthy, then that's when the offense will get going again. Yeah.
So, I mean, that'll be interesting to see. So that's the wrap up as far as week 2. When we come back from break,
right,
we'll get into, you break down the Eagles Falcons, I'll break down Dallas Redskins, and then we'll get into our picks for our games next week, and then we'll just go down the line and say who we pick. Just straight pick 'em, so we don't have to worry about covering spreads or anything like that.
Not at all.
All right, so we'll be right back.
Absolutely.
All right, we're back on the other side of the break. This is the Average Sports Guys podcast.
Here we go.
So we wanted to segue into just kind of recapping our respective teams' games.
Yeah.
So again, the Eagles played the Falcons.
Right.
Washington played Dallas. You can go ahead and.
Yeah, man. You know what? I know how Eagles Nation reacts. I know how upset they are at a lot of things going on with the team and all the injuries, because Alshon Jeffrey's going to be out for 2 weeks. Deshaun Jackson's going to be out for 2 weeks. Goddard's week to week. Corey Clement, you're looking at about 2 weeks. And then Timmy Jernigan's 4 to 6. On top of losing
why
Malik
couldn't we
Jackson.
play you guys week 3?
Right. It's like everybody was basically healthy. You guys took out Malik Jackson, but everything else was straight. But, at the end of the day, my overarching theme, there are actually 2. One, the way I look at it, Carson Wentz isn't thinking about that leg for a second. This dude was diving for touchdowns. This dude was diving for 2-point conversions. This dude was falling down and throwing bombs to Mac Hollins and, getting hit and throwing bombs to Nelson Aguilar and trying to get the ball to Zach Ertz. This dude is a gamer. He's going to fight for every yard. He's not going to go down easily. He's going to duck. He's going to cover. He's going to make space, shift to the left or right, and try to make something out of nothing. That's just his DNA, and you can't ask for more than that, or any more than that from, in my opinion, one of the top 10 QBs in the league. So you just really need to, pump your brakes on his play. Yes, he did throw 2 picks. And I think that was just the residual effects of that major hit that he took, which I'm not going to lie, my heart dropped to the floor because I'm like, oh, God, here we go again.
Yeah, but I didn't even, I didn't text you.
Yeah.
Because I was just thinking, I was like, man, well, let's just let this play out. Yeah. I was like, I think he'll be back in. And I was like, I think he'll be all right. But to your point, watching that game, one of the big takeaways was just the fact that Wentz still is that for as big as he is, as far as tall, he's slippery.
Right.
And there was that play where the defender was bringing him down and he just got that ball.
Got the ball off to Mac Hollins.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
Yeah, that was cool. And just seeing him, like you said, he'll climb the pocket, shift, and get out of there, and extend the play. Whereas I think earlier in his career, he would do that almost to a fault where the injuries were caused. So I would like to see more of that out of him, and just the smarts and just basically coming from A, being injured, and then B, being in the league and knowing okay, I'm not going to have a long career and I'm no good to my team if I'm on the sideline.
And I'm glad you said that because I think he's scrambling to throw downfield versus scrambling to run now, which is completely different.
But you know what's crazy? Not to get too far off of that, but I've seen a lot more of that out of quarterback play period this year. And I'll get into Dak running on us, but which to me is good to see.
It's great to see.
You're
extending your product.
Extending the play, but you're, like you just said, extending your shelf life.
Right.
So again, that was to me the major takeaway out of that game.
Absolutely. And then on the backside with the first half, we only put up 6 points. They were both field goals by Jake Elliott or whatnot. I honestly think that one of the other takeaways from the game that bothered me the most is our 15-ish play script when we started the game. This is the second game in a row where we've done nothing. Mm-hmm. But to Peterson's credit, because he did talk about this in the press conference, that not having Dallas Goedert and also being down to basically 2 functional tight ends this season because of injuries in preseason, that, our offense was shot from the door. Because we run a lot of 12-man or ace packages, which basically, if you don't know what that means, is we run 2 tight ends and a running back set. Mm-hmm. Whether it's under center or out of the gun. Mostly out of the gun because we like to pass a lot. Right. But that also, the way that we line up, that also creates a lot of plays, not only in the run game, because it's just extra blockers on the outside, but also the fact that, we run a lot of misdirection, a lot of play action off of that. And, we have 2 really good tight ends that, most linebackers and corners can't cover.
Yeah, they're just hard to cover.
Size.
Right.
So the fact that got scrapped that didn't help out a lot. But overall, I think our scripted play game is terrible. We have yet – it's only – don't get me wrong. It's only week 2. We just haven't been able to put up points like touchdowns in the first half, and that does bother me. We shouldn't. Granted, I'm happy that we can come from behind and put ourselves in a position to win games, but you always want to play with a lead so you don't have to come from behind and take more risks and injure more players. And I think that's what another big takeaway for me was. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So.
Yeah, and just watching early on. To give the Falcons credit, they
were ready.
Well, because there was a lot of back and forth. There was, you know what I mean. I guess you can call it sloppy play. I would have for 2 good teams. I would have expected more. So I kind of looked at it maybe from a defensive standpoint. Right. Maybe that just was 2 good defenses. Going at each other. But I will say, and we were talking before we started this show, your secondary seems to come along a little bit later. Right. Because I felt like what's the dude? Because they were throwing on him. Yeah.
Yeah, Ronald Darby, he's coming back from his second injury with us. I think it was like MCL, ACL, something like that. Mm-hmm. That got blown up against Mari Cooper last year or whatnot. He doesn't usually show up till about week 4 or 5. Right. And I think it's not even him being healthy. I think it's him getting over the mental thought of the fact that, okay, my leg's healthy. I think he's thinking too much on the field. He's not reacting fast enough. That's why I think they kept throwing it up to Calvin Ridley, because he had at least a step and a half on Ronald Darby, and that pissed us off. Dude was literally sitting there like, when you leave toast in the toaster for too long, burnt toast, out there on the field, and they just kept attacking him. That game could have easily been, I want to say, 27-6 by the end of the half.
Right. Well, and that's what I was saying.
Actually, connected with Calvin Ridley.
Right, and that's what I was saying. Maybe from the Atlanta standpoint, they definitely could have gotten more out of their offense.
Oh, they definitely could,
because they definitely left a lot on the field. But then part of that too is Calvin Ridley just being Calvin Ridley.
Right, that was a big deal.
Yeah, so they have some good receivers.
They have great receivers. Mohamed Sanu, obviously Julio Jones, who I'm going to talk about in a second. One cornerback that I think that I'm going to like for years to come is Rasul Douglas. They were counting on that man backing off, not playing tight, just giving him like a 10-yard cushion. He said, no, I'm going to fight every ball. I'm going to meet you at the line. I'm going to jam you. And he did a pretty good job. Mm-hmm. Like, Julio Jones could have gashed us for a lot more. Like, even at the end of the game, yes, he did make that game-winning touchdown. But if you actually go back and look at the tape, there was an uncalled block in the back to where I think it was Sidney Jones was trying to dive at Julio, and it was actually behind the line to gain, and it would have stopped him, and we would have had the ball. But, that's neither here nor there. We had plenty of opportunities to win the game ourselves. Nelson Aguilar dropped that ball.
I couldn't believe it.
It was, like, literally in his hands.
Everything was gift wrap.
It was gift wrap, and literally when you get Nelson Aguilar in stride, you can't catch that man. He just has to get up to that speed. Once he's there, you're not catching him, and he just dropped it. What his problem was, from the previous hit that he took. He was looking for the safety. I think he glanced away and was looking for the safety to come over the top and clean him up. But there was nobody there. And in that split second, he dropped the ball. But to make up for that, he did catch that huge bomb within the last, 48 seconds of the game.
Oh, right.
Where Carson Wentz was getting pressure again, and he did catch the ball, move this in, I think, around the 30. And then it came down to Zach Ertz, catching the ball, inside of the line to gain. And literally the dude was like 20 pounds less, and he just couldn't get the line to gain. Because, like I said before, another point to Carson Wentz. The dude's a gamer, man. Like, we were down, and he was like, nah, dog, we're going to come back out here. We're going to throw the rock, and we're going to get ourselves in position to win. So, yes, like I said, he did throw 2 picks, but at that point in the game, before that last Falcons touchdown, we were up. So, in my opinion, that washes out. I honestly think that, we could have won that game if we would have stepped up. But I also understand the mental strain when your best receivers are on the sideline, and Deshaun Jackson and Alshon Jeffrey, and especially Deshaun Jackson, because he opens so much of your offense up.
Oh yeah, because
you
have to respect him.
So overall, I'm not going to get too down on myself with this game. I think our game planning for the first half has to be better. We shouldn't be going into the tunnel down at halftime. I think we need to get Deshaun Jackson involved earlier. I think we need to run the ball more frequently. Jordan Howard didn't really have a big game just because we didn't have our 2 tight ends on the outside as extra blockers to open up more holes and things of that nature. Corey Clement going down was a problem. Miles Sanders, like I said, we weren't running our base formation like we wanted to. But I am looking forward to these Lions next week, and I think we could have a pretty decent bounce back game there. So.
Yeah, for sure. And, that's a difference in the 2 franchises, meaning Philadelphia Eagles and the Washington Redskins. Our fan base is ready to light the city on fire. Now, you guys actually light cities on fire.
We actually light cities on fire. Like, we burn jerseys, and then we will call your mom all kinds of names in the book, but yeah.
Right, but but it's just pretty much how it is. Like, okay, you guys lost a game you should have won or could have won.
Could have won, yeah.
And we do that, seems to be week in, week out. And that, to me, is just the biggest difference. You guys, because I don't think the Redskins have a bum team.
No. Personnel-wise,
there is some talent.
There is talent there.
And you guys have a loaded roster on both offense and defense. So I think it's like the fans recognize that and say, okay, we dropped one. We let one get away. Right. But also, too, your guys' coaches and coaching staff makes adjustments.
Yeah,
be it in-game, at halftime, whatever. So it's like you said, that first scripted 15, you would like to see that changed. They're going to go back and they watch the film.
Right.
They're going to see what worked, what didn't work. Obviously, you put in a package based on who you're playing.
Right.
So I think you guys, I'm picking you guys to win that game, and we'll get into picks because I think the Lions just aren't.
They're not there.
They're just not there.
And then one more point I forgot to make earlier is that, what really ticked me off was, the end of the first half when Carson Wentz, and when Ronald Darby had that pickoff, because don't forget, Matt Ryan had 2 picks too. And then in the midst of that pickoff situation, they called him into the back for concussion protocol. Like, he was under the tent. And then all the announcers like, oh, what's wrong with Wentz? Wentz was pissed off because – yes, he had that knack. I think he had a mean stinger.
Right.
And I think when he threw those picks and those errant throws to Trufant or whatnot, they're like, yeah, something's off. Let's go ahead and take a look at him. But also, I think that threw off, his productivity because he's pissed off about not being in the game. Granted, Josh McCown, when he did get in the game, he did show up. He did move us within range and all that.
Yeah.
But then they immediately switched back to Carson Wentz, and, the drive stalled or whatnot. We still ended up with that last field goal. But at the end of the day, I think the league does have to look at, what are the parameters with pulling guys off the field, because that was a clutch moment within the game. That could have been way worse than what it was.
Right.
So,
which, I don't know if you know for sure or not, but, that could have been just a coaching decision.
It could
you know what I mean? Just because, you got to think, like, let's protect our investment. If he is hurt, let's not, A, let him get further injured, or B, okay, let's take him back, get a breather. Worst case scenario, if we don't believe he's injured, he'll just come back in.
Right.
I do think they should have let McCown finish that drive, though, because there was that momentum. He was moving the ball down the field. But, like, I mean, it's neither here nor there.
Right.
Okay, so now switching over to the Washington Redskins. So, it's a storied rivalry between the Washington Redskins and the Dallas Cowboys.
Those Cowboys.
The hell with all that. Neither team has really done much in the last, 20-something years.
Yeah.
Dallas of late, last couple of years, has been a strong team. They came out and just pretty much tap danced all over our backside. I mean, I'm not going to make excuses for our team.
No.
There were moments where, yes, the Redskins could have won that game, right? I don't like to play that because it's every week it seems like we could have won this game. We could have won this game. We could have won this game.
Right.
I'm to the point, people, okay, let's finish my point. I'm to the point, get Jay Gruden out of there. Get Minuski out of there.
We talked about that.
Now, so people argue both of it, right? Oh, typical Redskins fans, 2 weeks and you're ready to get rid of everybody. No, homie. This is 6 years for Jay Gruden.
Yeah.
This is what, third year from Minuski.
Yes, it is.
What frustrates me is not the offense. I think Jay Gruden schemes well.
Mm-hmm.
I do think he will get away from the run.
Mm-hmm.
But in certain spots, I don't necessarily blame him because of our offensive line issues. In years past, when we've had a healthy line, we're in the, I'd say, top 10 for offensive lines, and you see our run game is productive.
Yeah, man.
So I can understand that. And then when you get behind the chains because of penalties, Morgan Moses holding, Brandon Sheriff had some holding. I'm trying to think who else. Somebody was in there getting rung up for holding. It's like we have Callahan, who's supposed to be this offensive line guru.
Right. You guys brought him in for that reason.
You're paying him a whole hell of a lot of money.
About that, yeah.
So you figure that out.
Yeah.
But that needs to be cleaned up. I text you during the game. We seem to be one of the most undisciplined teams in the league. Like, we are always getting penalties.
Right.
And there's going to be people, Redskins fans listening to this podcast are going to say it was because the refs are out to get us and da-da-da-da-da. That's a show for another day, right? But when they show the replay and your man's hands is up inside the shoulder pads, you can't do that.
You can't argue that.
What does that say to me? You're A, out of position. B, you got slow feet.
Yeah.
Because they get behind you or on the side of you, and you're reaching at this point. You know what I mean? Because your feet aren't quick enough. You're not getting to where you need to be.
Right.
But that being said, our defense has been non-existent. And that's why I say Minuski has to go. You have too much damn talent on that front line. The front seven is nasty.
It is very, very, very vicious. Like,
they have talent.
Hellish. Like, they are a problem.
And so people are saying, well, some people are saying, to me it seems 50-50. Put in Rob Ryan. Let him do it. No, we've seen the Ryan brothers. We've seen their defense. It's, it's just too crazy, whatever. I'm sorry. If I'm sending everything but the kitchen sink and you beat me, okay, you beat me.
Right.
But this crap that they're running 2-3 guys rushing, like, you're not getting any pressure on a quarterback. I don't care who you have in the backfield, or in the secondary. They're not covering for more than 2 to 3 seconds.
I don't care who your backfield is. It doesn't matter.
But, I mean, I'm seeing Dak Prescott drop back. He pats the ball 2-3 times. He takes a sip of water, has a bite of a cheese sandwich, and then he's like, "Oh, I'll throw. Now I'll throw."
Right.
And I'm like, "What are we doing?"
Right.
And there seems to be times where I don't know if the linebackers are just not playing gap sound, but you'll see the front line crash down. And it's like the linebacker's not really shooting a gap. That's one thing if you're shooting the gap and you're trying to get through. But they could see it's clearly a run, and they're going this way. They're way out of position. Zeke or anybody else, they just cut back, and that lane's wide open. I mean, Dak Prescott burned us, I think it was a 41 or 43-yard run.
Oh, yeah. I did see that one. I was like, Jesus Christ.
Right. But it all still started week 1. Once you guys really started running, I mean, everybody was getting a turn.
Right.
And to me, it's those types of things. So I don't know who's limiting the defense, if it's the personnel or if it's the coaches. But again, looking at who you have hopefully Jonathan Allen can come back this week.
Mm-hmm.
You have Matt Ioannidis.
Mm-hmm.
You have Daron Payne.
There you go.
You have Montez Sweat and Ryan Kerrigan on the edge. You have John Bostic in the middle.
Right.
You have the young rookie Cole Holcomb, who is fast.
Right.
And he can cover. And I think he's done well. He's had some tackles for loss.
Mm-hmm.
He's in on a lot of tackles. He's a short tackler. You have Landon Collins coming up and getting tackles. He's actually, I believe, the leading tackle on the defense.
Let's go.
You know what I'm saying? So you have pieces. Now, Josh Norman got burned again last week. Some guy who hasn't caught a pass. They said he hasn't caught a pass since 2016, right? Hit a bomb.
Yeah.
I mean, he just blew by Norman. Now, I will say this. Norman did look like he slowed down for two reasons. Because when I believe it was like a post route.
Mm-hmm.
But when they got even with the safety, I believe it was Monte Nicholson, and the receiver started to hit the post, Josh, I don't know what he thought. He either thought, he had help over the top, or he thought he was going to run in. I mean, they were close. So I don't know if he thought he was going to run into somebody or what. But then he got beat by like 2 steps on that. So I don't know what it is, but to me, Josh Norman, to me, you part ways with him.
He needs to relax.
At the end of the season.
Yeah, because it's one of those things where he's doing a lot of talking for doing a whole lot of nothing. I mean, he was talking about Dak Prescott before the game even popped off.
Well,
and then there was the whole situation where Dak Prescott is running the ball. He slows down just to get this dude to stiff arm. And I'm just like,
he knows he ain't going to outrun him.
He knows he ain't going to outrun him. He's not outrunning Josh Norman. But it's also one of those things where it's like you're drawing unnecessary attention. I mean, for the past 2 weeks, granted, you have been covered as a decent corner. Like, don't get it twisted. Josh Norman is when he wants to play and play well, he can. But he's just been getting burnt lately, and he's just really, in my opinion, just got to shut up and play and actually prove it at this point.
So my thing is just to touch on the whole Dak Prescott thing and him talking. That did get blown out of proportion, and there are Redskins beat reporters who did report on that. They were saying, because that was more of a national thing that made it what it was. I personally don't ever take too much stock in players running their mouth because you can call it competitive edge. They're just trying to motivate, like whatever. Right. Either way, you still got to go out there and play.
Right.
I'm more like you. I've always been taught that my whole life playing sports. My dad's like, just shut up and play.
Right.
Let your play speak for itself.
100%.
So I'm more of that mindset. But Josh Norman is a colorful character.
I mean, but that's just that side of the ball and the nature of that position and the people who play it.
Well, right. So I just look at. Well, first to me, he's never been a speed guy.
No, he's been more of a technique type of.
Yeah, he's very technique sound. Yeah. But I also feel like they need to do more jamming at the line of scrimmage because even Charles Davis, who was calling the game that day, he's like, these Washington DBs are playing so far off of the receivers.
Let these guys run free.
Like, A, you either let them run free, or B, they're going to catch the underneath stuff. And you know how they show the little first down, like, yellow line on the field or whatever. They're standing on the other side of the line.
Yeah, attempting to play sticks defense, but with sticks defense supposed to be in front of the line.
But not only that, so they literally run to the line, catch the ball, and they got a first down.
Right.
Extend the drive. Something to me has to change.
Yeah.
And so there was Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie had the foot injury during the game.
I did see that.
So him playing off of a receiver was fine. I am surprised that Dak didn't go after that matchup more often.
We gotta research that because you never know. There might have just been a bad history because he played for the Giants for a while where that man was eating him up. So it might have been a mental thing, but kudos to DRC for coming back from retirement, playing for you guys, and fighting through that injury. That's a big deal.
Well, yeah. So, like I said, him playing off of a receiver, I get.
That was just smart football.
Other than like Amari Cooper, now that Gallup kid, I mean,
he's turning into a super decent receiver.
And so the great thing about that is like you have Amari Cooper, who you have to respect.
Right.
You have Randall Cobb. Is that his name?
Randall Cobb. Yeah, he got it.
You have Randall Cobb, who is a vet. You know what his track record is, right? You could say he's lost a step. He isn't this. He isn't that. His name is noticeable for a reason.
Right.
So you still have to respect that, or he'll beat you.
Right.
Because you're gonna cover this guy and that guy, leave him open. Then they still have Jason Witten, who, yes, uses a cane to get into the end zone.
But that's the last guy you usually think about, and he's usually open just because you're not thinking about him.
Right. And so, I mean, credit to the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, their defense,
scheming well.
Their defense is vicious. And they have Van Der Esch in the middle controlling things.
Sean Lee's still alive. He's not on the sideline on a stretcher yet, so that's a big deal.
Right.
And
but
still got D-Law. I mean, outside of D-Law, your front four is a little suspect, but you also got to be able to generate that run game and have that run block in there to be able to do anything. But kudos to the Cowboys. I mean, even if you look at our lineup as far as the rankings of the division, I mean, that you have to give them the nod for the number one spot because they've just been playing that well.
Right. Yeah. No. I mean, they've definitely played well. I like I said, I do feel the Skins had the opportunity to win.
They did.
But when you can't stop anybody and they're going down, they're getting touchdown, I think field goal, then touchdown. What are you going to do? And then your offense can't really get much going. And that's not on Case Keenum.
No.
That's on a lot of things, but I think it's the offensive line not allowing you to be able to sustain a run game or really get one going.
Right.
Because AP had 10 carries for 25 yards.
He did.
Chris Thompson really wasn't effective in the run, more so as a pass.
Yeah, he's more of a pass catching type of dude anyway.
Right. So, I did hear Pam Oliver say on the sideline at the beginning of the game that Jay Gruden doesn't like AP's running style because he feels it severely limits the offense and gives the defense too many options. Now, in his defense, which I wouldn't have said to Pam Oliver or anybody else, I see where he's coming from in this sense, and hear me out. When AP is in on first down, right, say a few yards, it's second and long, they're not running him. You bring in Chris Thompson, or even they brought in what's the name we got from y'all?
Wendell Smallwood.
Right. So you bring him in, and okay, 9 times out of 10 with Chris Thompson in, they're gonna pass. So it does limit them that way. Whereas if Geis is in, okay, you don't know what they're gonna do first, second, or even third down. But AP is AP for a reason.
For a freaking reason. Come on, man. That's AP. Give him the damn rock.
And it's just like two weeks in a row, there's something coming out of Jay Gruden's mouth towards AP. When Clinton Portis was on 106.7 The Fan, and he said, I believe he's on with Grant and Danny, and he said, wait a minute. He said, AP is AP.
Right.
AP is the reason some of them coaches still have a job.
Right.
Like, he was saving jobs. And to me, just the disrespect towards him was kind of just not. It just was bad.
It was just real bad because at the end of the day, that's one of the cornerstones of your offense, whether you like that or not. Like, that's Adrian freaking Peterson. Even at what he's like 36 right now, 34, like 35, 36, whatever.
34.
34. Yeah, super high in the running back age, and he still gets carries when he gets carries and still is productive.
And he's the type, he has to get carries and get going throughout the game.
Right. He has to build momentum.
Right. And with Jay Gruden getting away from the run, again, some of it I understand because you put yourself in a bad situation. Second and long, third and long, you got to throw to get out of those in most cases. So I understand that. But we tend to have a predictable offense where it seems like more often than not we run on first down, although we did throw to open the game, which I did like. But I believe we ran on 8 of 19 first downs, so that was good, meaning we threw the rest. So, so there is that change there. But no, I mean, going forward, I would like to see AP get involved more. But again, I think a lot of that is predicated off of the offensive line.
Right.
So, I mean, we'll see. But so that's my recap there. Like I said, I'm not saying Redskins lost. I'm saying the Cowboys took it to us. I mean, they played a full 60 minutes.
Yeah, they did.
To me, the Redskins have yet to do that.
Right.
I have said, and I still stand by it, if word came out right now that Jay Gruden got let go and or anybody else, I'm perfectly okay with that.
Right.
All right, we'll be back right after this break.
Yep.
All right, we're back for the final segment of the show, Average Sports Guys podcast with Eddie and Marcus.
Let's go.
All right, so we're just going to quickly go down for pick'ems for week 3. And Marcus, you can start us off with that.
Yeah, let's go. So the Thursday night game is at 8:20. That's the Titans versus the Jaguars, obviously with Nick Foles being out. And they did trade for that quarterback from the Steelers. I like the Titans. Derrick Henry, that dude is a freaking monster.
Yeah.
I just think that they're just a better team at this point, so that's who I'm taking.
Yep, I got Titans as well.
Awesome. So the next game is that Sunday. We got Bengals Bills. I'm probably gonna lean towards the Bills. They're just on a hot streak right now.
Me too. They're 2-0 until otherwise.
Yeah.
You know.
Absolutely. Next one, Eagles Lions at 1. I know I'm a homer, but I'm probably still gonna lean towards my Eagles just off of just history. I think we'll have a decent bounce back game. I think it'll be close, but I think we're gonna edge it out just off of injury. Lions. I mean, what can you say? You got Stat Padford. Stat Padford. All right. So the next one.
Hold on.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm gonna go with the Eagles too.
Yeah.
Just because of the way you guys lost, I feel like you're gonna come out and not even leave this one to chance.
Right.
So
absolutely.
I'm going Eagles.
This one is a very hard pick. Patriots Jets. What do you think's gonna happen?
Pats all day.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer. I mean, but granted, they do have Adam Gase as their head coach, and that guy is a Brady killer as far as regular season games. Like he knows how to scheme to beat them. But at the end of the day, they don't have anything. They don't have anybody left, so it's a foregone. It's a foregone conclusion. I'm sorry. I tried to help the Jets out, but obviously it's the Patriots right now, and they have Antonio Brown.
Yeah.
All right. So next game, it is Vikings Raiders. This is gonna be tough, but I'm gonna say the Raiders in this one.
Raiders.
I do like Derek Carr. I do like Josh Jacobs. I do like Renfro. I do like who's their corner that they got? What's that guy's name? Just slipped my mind.
Jonathan Abrams.
Jonathan Abrams, that defensive end, he's a stud. I don't know. I think these Raiders can possibly get these Vikings, especially if they can get the Kirk Cousins and stifle that run game a little bit.
I believe this one's in Minnesota, is it?
They're at Minnesota, yes.
I'm gonna go with the Vikings just for that reason and no other reason alone.
Okay.
There's
no other reason to talk.
Yeah, just that reason and that reason alone.
Ooh, this is a good game. This might actually end up being the game of the week that we pick. Chiefs Ravens.
Yeah.
That's gonna be a good game. So I'm leaning towards Mahomes just because that dude has a cannon and a half, and I don't see anybody beating him. At all. Granted, Lamar has looked great up until this point, but come on, it's the Chiefs.
Yeah, I'm going with Chiefs because Patrick Mahomes puts ketchup on everything. And they're at home as well.
Yes, because it is Ravens at Chiefs.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Oh, yeah, Earl Thomas.
I think it'll be a close game because it was, I believe didn't they play in the playoffs?
I think they did.
Yeah.
Did they last year?
I believe it was.
I gotta look. I'm not too sure.
I know. Either way, they played last year.
Yeah.
The Ravens had a chance to win. They should have won, but they didn't.
Right.
But I'm still gonna go with Patrick Mahomes.
Absolutely. Next one, Falcons at the Colts. If I'll say this, if the Falcons play the Colts like they played us, they're gonna lose. They gotta come. They have to have a better game plan. They have to play better defense, and they got to be able to protect Matt Ryan and get the ball to Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley. If they can't do that, that's a loss.
Yeah. So I picked the Colts for that reason, just like you said. I do think the Falcons are going to play kind of how they did against you guys.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to Indy. So I'm
They
taking
are in Indy.
Jacoby Brisket. And the Colts.
Let's go. Next game, we do have Broncos at Packers. I'm going Packers just because it is that bad man, Aaron Rodgers. And granted, Flacco hasn't looked terrible, but they don't really scare a lot of people.
They don't scare anybody.
Aaron Rodgers still has Devontae Adams, a bunch of weapons. Defense looks legit right now, and they haven't had a legit defense for like a decade.
Yeah.
So now that they have a defense, I think they'll end up pulling that one out. The next one is Dolphins at Cowboys.
Dallas.
Let's be real. It's Dallas. I mean,
and they just got rid of Minkah Fitzpatrick.
Yeah,
he went to Steelers.
So literally, it's going to. So if you have Dak Prescott on your bench, you might want to start him this game for fantasy because he's going to put up about 70 points.
Hold on. First, if you had Dak Prescott on your bench, you're
an
stupid.
idiot. You're an idiot.
Yeah.
Unless you have Tom Brady as your starter.
Right.
Yeah. Ride out Dak Prescott until you can't. Yeah, that's gonna be. He's giving you like depending on the type of league that you're in, between 45 and 70 points because they literally have nobody in their secondary.
No, I mean they're going to carve them up
all the way up. It's gonna be like you might even actually, you know what? They might even rest players in the third quarter because it's gonna be that bad.
Yeah.
Giants, Buccaneers. The Giants don't like to use Saquon Barkley as much as they should.
Right.
So I'm going to give the nod to the Buccaneers.
Where's this one at?
This one is Giants at Bucks.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to give this one to the Buccaneers.
Me too.
Yes, just because, it's the Bucks. I mean, they still have Mike Evans. Just as long as they continue to dangle crab legs at the goal post, for Jameis Winston, they should pull that out.
I see this being a game that Jameis gets right. Now, what that means for the rest of the season, I don't know.
I don't know.
But this is a team he can get right on.
Hey,
he can get into a rhythm. So, yeah, I'm taking Bucks.
Just get that man a seafood before the game. All right, next one. We have the Panthers at Cardinals. I'm not a big believer in that offense just because I've been through that. I'm sorry, the Cardinals offense, just because I've been through that Chip Kelly trauma. Granted, we did have 2 10-6 seasons and all that, but at the end of the day, we got figured out. We were hosed, and it's very similar. So I'm giving this to the Panthers. Although Kyler, I mean, he does creep back into games. I don't know. I just think this might be one of the ones that the Panthers do get right.
So I will pick Panthers with the caveat of Cam Newton. If Newton doesn't play, I'm going Cards.
Okay,
so
I'll give you that. That's true.
Yeah.
All right, Steelers at Niners. Big time Timmy Jim. Yeah, they don't have Ben Roethlisberger, and is their running back still out? Connor?
I haven't heard anything.
Okay. Well, if he plays, they might have a little bit better shot, but even with him, I'm still giving it to the Niners. It's big time Timmy Jim. Let's go. Next one, it is Saints at Seahawks. Yeah, that is Russell Wilson. That is Tyler Lockett. That is Chris Carson. They don't have too much of an offensive line, but they still find ways to win.
It's still tough to go into Seattle and play.
Yeah,
I mean, not as tough as it has been in years past, but it's still tough. You still have Bridgewater, who, let's hope he got all the right reps this week,
right,
and puts it together.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say this: I won't be surprised if the Saints win, but I will pick the Seahawks at home.
Right. So we have Texans, Chargers. I'm gonna go Chargers just because I still don't think that the Texans have figured out how to protect what's his face Deshaun Watson. So they have a good defense. Phillip Rivers is still like 85 and still throwing bombs. They still have what's his face healthy? Their receiver. I slipped my mind. What's that guy's name?
I know who you're talking about.
I just slipped my mind. Anyway, I still think they're gonna win just because I think the Texans can't protect Deshaun Watson.
I'm going Texans here. I think they'll be fine.
Keenan Allen is the name.
Yeah.
I just got it.
Yeah,
so I think, well, if he's healthy, they'll be fine for me. But you're going Texans. So we have Rams at Browns. I'm watching this one. Yeah. It's 8:20. We have to watch it.
That's a primetime Sunday game?
It's a primetime Sunday game.
Rams.
Oh, yeah. You have to go Rams because it's one of those things where, and this happened last week against the Saints, Cooper Kupp came alive. Mm-hmm. That dude had caught that bomb, and unfortunately, he didn't get the touchdown like they wanted to, but I think he is just now getting over thinking about his injury from last season.
Yeah.
So the fact that he can stretch the defense, the fact that they still have who is it? Who are some of their other receivers? They have I can't think of their names right now. They have a good receiving core. Todd Gurley, if they manage his reps right, he has bad cartilage in his knees or whatnot, but I think they will still be fine.
Yeah, I think they're going to take it to the Browns.
Yeah.
Because even with the Browns' defense being as good as it is, I think they're going to run some misdirection to get Myles Garrett, upfield for no reason.
Right. It's going to be trapping, a lot of trapping.
Yeah. So, and I do like McVay's theory of make that defense cover every blade of grass.
Absolutely.
And I think they're going to spread their asses out.
That's exactly what they're going to do.
And they're just going to just go down the field.
Yep.
Yeah. So I take them actually going away. Just like not even a chance.
Absolutely. And then what else we got? Monday night game is Bears Redskins.
Yeah.
Unless Jay decides to get his head out of his behind and runs Adrian Peterson like we all know he should, I'm going to lean towards the Bears on this one. Granted, they haven't played the best themselves. I mean, Allen Robinson has been a no-show. I have Cohen as my one of my receivers that I'm starting just because Geis is injured. He's been a no-show. I don't know what Matt Nagy is doing with that offense or what his thought process is, but I think this is the game where they probably get it right. I think that they will run a lot of play action. They will get more running backs involved. They will try to run the ball a lot more, which will open things up for Allen Robinson on the back end. So I do think I'm going to lean towards the Bears on this one.
Okay, so I am going with Washington.
Okay.
The reason that, no, not just because they're my team. I think it's a winnable game because the Bears' offense is just so non-existent.
Right. It really isn't.
I don't think AP or the running backs will get off on this game because of their defense. So they're just going to have to figure something else out. But,
yeah,
I mean,
that defense, though.
It'll be tough because their secondary is locked down as well.
Yeah.
But, again, I think, and I don't know, so it wasn't you that I was telling somebody else. I think the way the Redskins beat them is if they can, A, win the turnover battle, and B, if they can get somehow a pick six or a defensive scoop and score, something of that nature,
right.
I think that is going to be the difference in the game because I don't think Chicago has the offense to light up our defense, but we don't have the offense to light up their defense.
So it's going to be a defensive battle. Is essentially
yeah, I think, well, if it's high scoring, we're getting our doors blown off. But I predict it to be a very low scoring, boring,
like
Monday
17-14 type situation.
Yeah. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if Washington loses. We don't do well in primetime games. I hate primetime games. Just put us in at 1 o'clock where nobody watches, nobody cares, nobody's worried about it. I don't like all eyes on me.
There you go.
I don't like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right,
you already know how I feel. So
so I am going to take Washington. I mean, we got to win one.
You got to get one.
Like, my whole thing is if we can win this one, the Giants is a winnable game for week 4. We'll basically get our doors blown in week 5 against the Patriots. So if you can go into that game 2-2, I mean, you're okay. Yeah. So, I mean, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. So that's all for the show for this week. As always, we say every episode, head over to our website, averagesportsguys.com.
Yes, sir.
You can pick up all that
social media content.
All social media. Our podcast is on there. The video podcast is on there. You can go to YouTube, subscribe right here.
Yes, sir.
It's like literally right here.
Right there.
And just support us, man. Like I said, and we say it all the time, hit us up with questions, concerns, fantasy questions, whatever you guys want to hear, whatever you want answered. I mean, we're doing longer shows, so we have time to incorporate some of that stuff. But until then, you're just going to listen to us run our mouth.
Absolutely. So please, please, please talk to us, leave comments, things of that nature. And that's what we got. So,
Average Sports Guys, we're out of here.
We're out.